This is a narration by Tales of Terra. The Wolf King gritted his teeth against the pain. Horus smiled in triumph. "You were wrong, brother. You could not best me. Now you will die." The War Master raised his maul to slay his brother, but Horus's arrogance blinded him to the Wolf King's ruse. As the War Master swung up the maul, Russ twisted free of the claw, shredding his own armor and flesh to force an opening. And with every ounce of his strength, he thrust the spear one-handed into Horus's side. A shockwave blasted from the impact, rippling Russ's face with its force. He pushed on, grinding the spear through the outer layers of Horus's Terminator plate, into the armored undersuit, through the body glove, and into his brother's flesh. Horus looked down at the weapon protruding from his flank in disbelief. A thin sheet of blood ran down the glistening black ceramite of his plate. "I do not need to win," said Russ. Howling, Leman Russ pushed again, plunging the eager tongue of his blade into the War Master's guts. Horus roared in agony, and his men faltered in dismay. His maul fell from his fist, and he began to shake tremendously. His head jerked back, and a blast of white-hot soul fire blazed from his mouth, cracking the armored cowl curved above his head. Skittering lightning crackled over the two brothers. Violet light blazed from his wound, and the edge of the blade shone golden. It, too, was shaking, its edges blurring, becoming a spear made of nothing but light. Russ's arm shook painfully. His post-human muscles and bones went numb as he struggled to hold the weapon in place. Still screaming light, Horus staggered back, releasing Russ in his attempt to dislodge the blade. Russ would not relent, and went with him, grinding the weapon in the wound. The War Master gripped the shaft of the Emperor's spear, desperate to keep it from cutting deeper. The scream ended. The white-hot light of his wounded soul cut out, and he fell to his knees, head bowed. When Horus looked up, the unholy aura had gone from around his head. The absolute confidence he had displayed a few moments before was absent. His flesh hung slackly upon his skull. He had aged 1,000 years in a moment. "Russ," he said hoarsely. "Russ, my brother." He smiled. "I have been unkind to you. You were the second. I should not have been jealous, but I was." "Horus," said Russ. "I speak with Horus Lupercal." Horus closed his eyes and shook his head. Leman, you have been speaking to me since you arrived here," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I have seen it all. I understand. I had to do it. I had to. The Emperor is the greatest evil in the galaxy. But what have I done to stop him? How many have died? Am I worse than he?" "Horus," said Russ urgently. Call off your warriors. Let us talk. I will take you back to Terra. It is not too late. Too late. Too late, said Horus. He looked up at his brother. For a moment their eyes met, and Russ saw nothing but regret in his brother's face. Then Horus smiled, and the regret was replaced by triumph. Horus took a deep, rumbling breath, the sort taken by men on the cusp of death. It is too late, Leman of the Russ, said Horus. Far too late for you. Horus! Shouted Russ. Hear me! Horus replied so loudly, warriors on both sides stumbled and clutched at their ears. I hear you, and I defy you! Horus's words echoed down the eons, coming from a place beyond time and space. This universe will burn, as countless others have burned before it. There can be no victory against chaos. If you cannot accept its power and its glory, then you shall die. The Emperor is doomed. I will kill him myself. Before Russ could react, Horus punched forwards with his talon, slamming it hard into the injured side of Leman Russ. The boom of the claw's energy fields rolled out over the battlefield, drowning out the noise of battle. Russ roared with pain as the talon raked fresh cuts through his armor and gouged deeply into his flesh. The barbs ripped away chunks of muscle. The energy field scorched his bones. With a contemptuous flick, Horus threw him off the ends of his claws, hurling Russ across the chamber. Russ skidded to a halt at the foot of a profane painting, the Emperor's spear clattering down beside him. Smoke issued from the rents carved into the armor of Elevar by Horus's talon. Horus grabbed the handle of his maul, forcing his heavily armored body back upright. He gathered his dark majesty to himself again like a cloak. The haggard, suffering figure was gone. Russ could not be sure he had really seen it. So you were good enough, after all, brother. You could have killed me. You should not have hesitated. This weakness is what will cost our father victory. You so nearly won. Horus strode forwards, his maul raised to deliver the killing blow. When your soul is cast from you, and you are adrift in the warp, then you will know the truth as I do, brother. Before your essence is devoured by the gods our father denies, you will know you were wrong to deny me. Russ looked up weakly. Blood ran between his teeth. At least one of his lungs was punctured, and his secondary heart had been injured. His flesh burned with the efforts of his primarch's physiology to heal him, but his hurts were graver than the marks on his armor suggested. His chest was a mess of snapped ribs and pulped organs. The wounds were terrifyingly similar to those he had suffered in the Underverse, and he saw them now as prophecy. You can kill me, said Russ defiantly. But you will never win.